Welcome back, everybody. We are here with Words with Walner, with Jon Walner, of course, and from Walner Law. And then we've got Aaron Boeder here from Solvay, Shostak, and Pritchard. So welcome, Aaron, and welcome back, Jon.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, Aaron, for coming back again a month later to talk to us about what's going on in the world of ride shares like Lyft and Uber and Grubhub, Amazon, of course, using private entities to move their product to your house from their depots. And we're excited to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so it's big business today, right? Rideshare, delivery services like Amazon, Home Depot. And then we're going to put in there CPD because especially here in the city of Chicago, obviously there's a lot of police run around. There's accidents I should say collisions that are caused. But let's talk about some of those collisions and what happens and what does the consumer need to know?
Yeah, so first and foremost, when you talk about an Uber or a Lyft or an Amazon, those companies' goals is to act as though the people driving their vehicles are not their responsibility. And whatever happens on the road, it's not their fault. And why is it? Obviously, it's money. They want to get all the profits that come from these people running around and doing work for them, but they don't want to pay up if those people hurt anybody. And that's really that's the model. That's the plan. That's how they make all this money. Because they get all the benefits without taking any responsibility.
So give me an example of someone, a client of yours that you are working with that this sort of a thing has happened where there's been a collision of some sort and somebody was injured.
You know, Walner Law, first of all, has been blessed to partner with Aaron in some of our biggest, most catastrophic cases having to do with the negligence of drivers for Lyft and Uber. And Aaron, why don't you share with us the successes that we've had together in the realm of rideshare companies? Please share some stories with our audience.
So we have one right now. A young man was driving his car as he's supposed to do, and an Uber driver who's got a passenger in the back seat, he just cuts right in front of him. Gives him no chance, and they collide. And what's the first thing Uber does? They say, oh yeah, I know there's an Uber passenger in back. I know he's on our app, but he's not our responsibility. That driver's not our guy. Basically, leaving the guy out to dry because of what? Money, because the guy only has so much in insurance money. And our client who was catastrophically injured, he broke his femur, which is like the biggest bone in your body. And he's a young guy, and he's got a permanent limp and permanent pain, and he's really struggling.
I think the consumer doesn't really know that when something should happen and there is some sort of a collision and you're using a rideshare or a delivery service, there's an assumption there that it is all responsibility. It does fall on that big company like Amazon or Lyft. But that's not really the case. Let's talk to us about why that's happening and that people need to understand that isn't, it's farmed off services per se.
So let's start with Amazon. Everyone's seen the trucks all over the city with the sort of the smile and their logo everywhere you go. So number one, they get this free advertising, right? You see the Prime, you see Amazon everywhere. But it turns out that truck driver, 9 times out of 10, does not work for Amazon. He works for Mom and Pa Delivery Company Incorporated, which is probably, formed at the request of Amazon by Mom and Pa, and they have all these people running around doing these deliveries. So the money goes from Amazon. They take most of the money. They pay it to a small piece to the smaller company, and then that company pays a small piece to that driver. And then they go, and that driver runs somebody over, and you go and you sue Amazon and the driver, and they say, no, that's not our guy. We're not responsible for him. But what we do as the attorneys at Walner Law and Solvay Law is we say, okay, why was the driver out there? What was he doing? He was out there serving the interest of Amazon, delivering their packages, making the money for Amazon. And if you follow the money and you follow the what we call the control elements, we look at, oh, he's got a phone or a tablet that tells him where to go. Guess where that information comes from? From Amazon. He has to deliver so many packages. Who sets how many packages he has to deliver? Amazon. So it's they're getting all the benefit. So we seek to hold them responsible, as they should be.
And they think of themselves only as an app service, is that right? Not really a delivery service sometimes.
Yeah, they really consider themselves to be a technology company.
Yeah.
We're talking about Uber and Lyft now.
Yeah, primarily, yeah, Uber and Lyft, they don't consider themselves to be transportation companies. If you look in the fine print, we consider ourselves to be basically an app or they're claiming to
The best way for you to get a car through your telephone, through an app on your phone. The driver is an app. They say they're a technology company providing a service to the consumer and for the driver to make more money, to get to his clients faster and bypass cab companies. And that's what's happening in America, that we're seeing no more cabs in the United States. We're watching these private drivers that can work whenever they want by getting leads off an app on their phone. But the consumer has no idea that Uber is not going to stand behind an accident, that the multi-billion-dollar rideshare company is saying, no, this guy is using our service. He's paying us for him to have this information on an app, but we're not going to be responsible ever for the actions of this driver. And Aaron, tell your successes in piercing the veil and showing and fighting for our clients that Uber is really responsible for this, and not your neighbor who's driving his 1985 Toyota Corolla with $50,000 of insurance.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that happens. Like they have to take their car in and get it inspected by an Uber improved inspector. And then Uber is going to do a background check. They're going to do all these things because they know ultimately they might be on the hook. But we had a client who was driving through Chicago doing exactly what he's supposed to do. And this Uber driver just turned right in front of him. And then what do? They try to blame our guy. It's like, what do you mean? How's that? And of course, we got the GPS information that Uber keeps, and we realized that, oh yeah, he did turn right in front of him. And we held their feet to the fire, and we were able to secure a very favorable settlement for our client. But it's not easy because there's lawyers for the driver who are working on behalf of Uber, and there's lawyers for Uber working on behalf of Uber. So it's a real tough situation. The deck is stacked against the consumer, which is why they need to get to really sophisticated lawyers to prosecute a case on their behalf. Because if you just go to anybody and, oh, I was in a car crash. Well, if you don't dig in to figure out, well, you were in a car crash, but we just found out there's insurance that might be through an Uber-provided company, oh, then we sue and realize, oh yeah, that person was driving for Uber. And that changes the whole complexion of your case. Because the individual driver is only going to have so much money and so much insurance money. But companies have a lot more money, right? And if you're severely injured, you need to get to more money so you can take care of yourself and take care of your family.
So for the consumer point of view, they need to understand that this is very complicated, and you can't just pick any lawyer really to do this because they are complicated. As you mentioned, they're going to be lawyered up on several different levels. And this is why it is really, really important to hire a good lawyer.
What's happening in this world is Uber and Lyft are publicly traded multi-billion-dollar companies. But you know whose car you're getting into? You're getting into a car of the guy that really lives 3 blocks away from you. He gets a notice that you just put in, pick me up at 1400 Main Street in Evanston. The guy drives over to your house because he got the thing in the app. You're thinking a billion-dollar company is picking you up, when the fact is that Uber will say no. It's a 34-year-old college dropout looking to make a little bit of money for 3 hours that day. Uber says, this guy only has $50,000 of insurance. The guy says, yeah. He goes to trial. The first thing they ask you in front of the ladies and gentlemen jury, what do you do for a living? I drive for Uber. How much time a week? 3 hours. What are you doing in the rest of your life? I am unemployed. I am unemployable, and Uber's giving me a great way to live. And Uber says, sorry, he has nothing to do with us. We just gave him an app on his phone. You need a hard-hitting, well-funded, experienced lawyer to fight for you against these companies that say that treat the consumer like, oh, you just called us in an app. we, Uber, provided the technology. We're not going to provide for your safety, your welfare, and well-being. We're going to walk away from it. We have billion-dollar companies with $1 million attorneys. And that's where Salvi and Walner will come in and say, you know what? Sorry, guys. We're here. We're going to fight on your side, and we're not scared, and we will never, ever, ever back off from Uber and Lyft's multi-billion-dollar fraud that they're committing against the consumers in the United States of America.
I love that passion. That's great, Jon. Tell me more. Let's move into CPD. And what is it that happens? And give me some examples of those type of cases. Look, they're prevalent enough. We know that. But why, what happens and how do they get in? Why do they get an attorney involved?
I'm going to let Aaron, take it over. I just want to let our audience know a certain real life case that we have at the Chicago Police Department. I got a call around 9:30 at night. My child is suffered a tremendous head trauma. My other child broke their leg, and we're at Stroger Hospital. We're in a hotel. This was at 9:30 at night. I get the call from my 24-hour answering service. I called up Aaron. He was at home down in Downers Grove. We met the family at a hotel attached to Stroger Hospital. We asked what happened. They said they don't know, but a police hit them. And then, Aaron, take over what we did next and how we are securing tremendous legal assets against the Chicago Police Department. Why don't you take it from here?
So we were told these young guys were at a McDonald's, and they were just driving around, and apparently there was some issue, and the cops just started chasing them. Now, it turns out all that was true, and they just ran a stop sign. Then the police decided to chase them with their lights and sirens on in violation of their orders from the police department, which says you don't chase ever for just minor traffic. They chased them through multiple stop signs onto Grand Avenue, where there was a collision at Grand and Damon, and our client is now catastrophically brain injured, and he's a teenager, living in his third-floor walk-up West Side apartment with his mother and sisters.
This is what we did on that case, Aaron. Aaron and I, after meeting with the family at 9:30 at night, then go to another family member's home who was in another hospital that had fractured their femur, and we listened to the story, what they knew. Aaron and I drove in our car from the McDonald's to this accident site of Grand and Damon, and we looked at every single building to see if they had a camera on the outside of their building. We marked the address, we marked the camera number, and I think, Aaron, there was 23 cameras.
Yeah.
And take it from here, what we did next.
And we sent out our investigators. We tried to get all those cameras because we needed to reconstruct the story, because our client can't talk. His brain is, destroyed essentially. And our goal was to get all this video footage and figure out, how did this happen? When did it happen? Now, we started getting the videos back in, and they didn't show anything. They didn't show anything. Well, the story was wrong from the police department. And once we got the real story, and then we requested the city cameras, which you people see, the pod cameras, and we had the video. And the officers claim in their report, we stopped pursuing these people long before the crash happened. But guess what's on the pod camera? It shows them within very short distance, following this car right into the intersection, right before the crash happens. Now, we're in the midst of litigating that case right now. It's been quite it takes tremendous resources. We have multiple lawyers working on it all the time. I was literally talking to the defense attorney the other day, and we have a young man who will never be able to work, never be able to walk on his own, never be able to feed himself again. And his mom was told, pull the plug. There's no point in waiting. There's no point in keeping him alive, because thankfully, he has improved dramatically. And she refused to take him off life support, which is obviously the worst situation for a parent to ever be in. And he is walking with some assistance now, and he kind of knows when people are around, which is so important to the family. But it's all because these officers, they violated the rules. They knew they weren't supposed to do it, or they should have known they shouldn't have done it. And what the mayor knew and what the city has known for years is when these police start chasing people, innocent people get hurt. And unless they've got, it's something where they're shooting at someone, just stop. Don't chase them. Let them
Yeah.
go.
Aaron and I have first, that case is tremendously hard to prove because the police lied about where they were, how it happened, and the routes they took compared to what our clients who were living told us. By the way, those were 5 black children in the car. We're not talking, we got a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, maybe a 13-year-old in the car with 2 adult drivers, like 21 and 19, black, leaving a McDonald's. Leave it to your imagination what happened, really. Aaron and I have another case where we're sitting at a stoplight, mom and dad and their child. The police were wrongfully chasing someone and killed the daughter. And that's a case where we couldn't find a lot of video. And this is why you need an experienced lawyer, is to talk to all the police from the 911 operators, hear all the radio transmissions, get all the radio transmissions that were in the other police cars. And you need a lawyer to fight for you that has money, that is willing to go the distance against the Chicago Police Department, which is commonly known as sticking up there for each other no matter what, so they don't lose their jobs, their pensions. And you need a serious lawyer for a serious catastrophic injury or death.
And in that case, which we're also doing depositions right now, we have the police on video, kind of making light of chasing these guys. This is a good chase. This is a good stop. Aha, they're about to crash. And then they do crash. And then his partner says, you need to stop. Turn off the car. Turn off the police lights. Basically, the cover-up started the moment they saw the crash. And
Thank God for cameras to this day.
Well, if you don't have cameras, you got to get some radio transmissions.
Yeah.
You got to get some body-worn camera footage, dash cam videos. But this is what lawyers do in our investigation, our experts, our accident reconstructionists. It takes a village of experts and powerful lawyers to beat the police at their own game.
because you have to contact them right away, preserve all the video, preserve all the body-worn cameras. And there's a police department body-worn camera policy, which says you keep it on the whole time you're investigating. Well, guess what happened at the scene of that crash after that young girl died? Big boss comes up. I don't have a camera. I don't think yours should be on either. They turn it off as they talk about what happened, which is a violation of the policy. What are they doing? They're getting their story straight.
Right.
Which is a real problem. You know, we should trust our police to do the right thing. But unfortunately, history has shown that the police are chasing young men that should never be chased.
I want to tell everyone out there that's listening, you should call a lawyer immediately, because we could go to court and get orders to preserve videos, preserve radio transmissions. You have to do it in court. You have to do it with the authority of the court. Call us immediately. I was in the Indiana Dunes with my wife and another couple on vacation, hiking, and over a weekend, and a family called me at 11 at night to our office, and she said, my brother was innocently hanging out with some friends, I forgot what street, Aaron, and the police came to check out what are these kids doing in their car. They started going after our client, not our client, the driver of the car, plugged it in reverse. And the police came at him and wouldn't stop. Our car flipped over and we died. Our passenger died. And that was at 11 at night. Immediately, we hired our investigators to go to the scene, measure skid marks, take pictures of the turned over vehicle, look at glass, because we're always available with Salvi and Walner together to get our experts there any time of day or night to preserve the scene, to see skid marks, to see debris fields, and how the body was brought out of the car. It is so important to immediately hire a lawyer. Immediately. Never wait, not 1 second when you're dealing with the police department. Ever.
Speaking of that, so call right away, but if there is an injury and maybe something comes up a little bit later, somewhere down the road, is it still 2 years or is it?
No, it's a good question. So if you're suing a Uber or a Lyft or a FedEx, it's 2 years. If you're suing the city of Chicago or the village of municipality, it's 1 year.
Oh.
And there's different requirements. So honestly, calling a lawyer right away is the only way to go, because I really believe that us actively investigating cases from day one limits some of the bad actions that may happen if we don't get involved right away. And make sure that the video's still there, make sure the audio's still there, prevents them from doing even worse in efforts to defend each other.
If you do not call a lawyer within 1 week of a police chase, your case is almost over. I could guarantee the cover-up starts by the second. That's why it's so important in a police chase to call a lawyer right away. And as you know from Aaron discussing with you the nature of the aggressiveness that Uber and rideshare companies will go against you, it's also necessary to call us right away so we can capture the data off your phone when you called the Uber and the route they were supposed to take. As Aaron was mentioning in this one car accident, the Uber driver said he didn't do that. Not true, but we couldn't talk against him because of the nature of our severity of our injuries, and we captured through a court order subpoena the app, both the driver's app and our app, how he made a wrong turn, deviated from his route, and put and permanently injured the client.
All right, let's, the last part of this is, as always, what is your last word?
With the right lawyers, you can take on the biggest, baddest enemies, whether it's the city, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Uber. In a courtroom, we have an even playing field, and we can go and beat them, and we do all the time. But you have to get to the right people who are willing to take the risk, who are willing to go out there and fight for you. If you go to the wrong lawyer, they may not get you full value and full compensation on your case.
The corporate greed and the corporate crime in America against the consumer, the profits over the personal safety, welfare, and well-being is what we're going to fight you for. No corporation stands above you in terms of safety, healthcare, and well-being. And we trust them to Uber and Lyft and Grubhub to bring us places or bring us food in a professional manner and not risk death or catastrophic injury. So the main thing that I want you to learn from us here today, whether it's the Chicago Police Department, Fire Department, ambulance services, rideshare companies, is we're going to fight for you. We're going to do what's right for you because corporations can't get away with crimes and severe malfeasance against us. Win with Walner. Please think of us for your needs in the future.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Jon, what's the best way?
The best way is to email us at walner@walnerlaw.com or simply call us at 312-800-0000. 312-8000000. We're on your side.
Well, thank you again for tuning in to Words with Walner. We do appreciate you, and we can't wait for the next episode when that comes out, and we look forward to seeing you then. Take care.